Hey guys, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. I've been very critical in the last handful of weeks. Really, I think since WrestleMania. I mean, yeah, the match that John Cena had with Randy Orton, with all the smoke and mirrors, was actually pretty good. But I said it. I said it. That I think I said it right after that show. This ain't it. This John Cena run still sucks. And this week on SmackDown was the latest example of just how bad this has gotten. We had an incredibly forced segment between John Cena, Logan Paul, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes. Um, it's just we're heading into Money in the Bank where neither world championship is going to be defended, and we're going to get this thrown together, flashy tag match with John Cena, Logan Paul, who nobody gives a shit about. And I mean, you got Jey Uso, God bless him, as the world champion. It's just really a gimmick at this point. Like, I love Jay. I love that he's gotten himself over, but there's just been zero substance really to this whole thing. Zero to it. It just what is there really in this tag match that Jey Uso getting thrown into this just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Outside of the fact that he was facing Logan Paul at Saturday night's main event. Jey Uso is supposed to be involved with, the whole Seth Rollins thing. He's the world champion. And now we're going off doing this. And then, Cody Rhodes did his best to try and tie up some loose ends from post WrestleMania. And that seemingly is going to be the direction of where this thing goes. I don't know when they're going to pay it off, if that's going to be the SummerSlam match or if they're going to wait a little bit longer. But yeah, this John Cena heel turn, man, has just not worked at all. Nothing's working right now. And this in particular was bad. It was really bad. John Cena came out there and was talking up Logan Paul like he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I was like, what sense is there in that? Basically saying that he does hustle, loyalty, and respect just as well as he does. I was like, the fuck are we talking about? This is a YouTuber who shows up and takes people's spots. And granted, he has good charisma and, he can be a decent promo, but it's becoming a recycled thing. The same thing, rinse and repeat every single week. And this just felt, with John Cena there, like the most forced way to get Logan Paul over and just try to build to this cheap imitation of a tag team match that's going to main event Money in the Bank, which, again, I understand the star power of Cody Rhodes and, John Cena and, obviously Jey Uso being there. But again, Jey Uso and Logan Paul, I'm glad that they didn't go with the original plan, which was going to be a 6-person tag with Travis Scott involved. That would have been a fucking nightmare. And who's to say that he doesn't show up and get involved in this match, which would be terrible. But yeah, this was supposed to be one of the biggest stories of John Cena's final year. And I'm not here to say that had The Rock not been involved with that whole thing at Elimination Chamber, and had they, done this, and maybe some of the novelty hadn't have worn off quicker with John Cena in the build to WrestleMania, and they would have done it at the actual turn at WrestleMania, and then just, spewed this off throughout this, and maybe it would have lasted a little bit longer. But Logan Paul? Really? Really? We were talking about Logan Paul facing John Cena. Now they're teaming with each other, and John Cena's talking him up like he's like this great guy, and like he's a great wrestler. Like, I understand he's a self-made guy, and I understand the value of having him there in terms of like his YouTube following and his social media following. But this was just, like, what did this accomplish? What did this accomplish? It didn't, like, we know the match. There's not really a whole lot you can do in a week to really make us genuinely more interested in this match. Like, we know the 4 guys involved. There's not a whole lot of story that you can really put into this in 8 days to make us genuinely more interested in this match. And it also pisses me off that, hey, we're heading into Money in the Bank. Both world championships are not on the line. Now, some people will come back at me and say, well, Mike, maybe whoever wins Money in the Bank could factor into whatever happens here at the end of this match. Maybe. I doubt it, because they've already announced that, Jey Uso is going to face Gunther, provided that he can get there. Jey Uso is going to face Gunther on the Raw 2 nights later. So, unless there's a babyface that comes in there and just basically steals it, like, John Cena's not losing the championship. So, listen, maybe they could tease a Money in the Bank cash in and have a chaotic finish to the show, but even then, that just doesn't really register to me and make a whole hell of a lot of sense. I mean, maybe it's CM Punk. If CM Punk could somehow, win the briefcase, maybe that's how this goes. And then you get CM Punk and Gunther on, the Raw following. But I just don't see that being a scenario realistically because, um, you know, well, first of all, CM Punk's not going to face Gunther because he's not going to cash in on Jey Uso. But CM Punk cashing in on John Cena, maybe that could play out. It's just there's just not a whole lot to be like. Raw is just feels like in a completely different stratosphere to SmackDown right now. Raw is not much better, but outside of the crowd on SmackDown tonight, like it was like it's just and you have these four big names in the ring, but again, it's just like I go back to it. It was just an incredibly forced segment to just try and get us genuinely hyped up and interested in a match that really, to me, just doesn't move the needle for me. I understand like what it means in terms of like the notoriety and the star power of these guys, but again, Jey Uso pretty much since becoming the world champion. He did have a good match with Seth Rollins, and he had a decent enough match with Logan Paul. He's kind of a gimmick, and I just don't know how doing this match at Money in the Bank with your two world champions involved does anything for anybody. Maybe it's going to potentially build the Cody Rhodes and John Cena part 2, which we knew what we were getting, but did you really need to have this match to get there? Um, and then trying to put over Logan Paul and use this match as a vehicle to put over Logan Paul, because that's what it came across to me as. That's what it came across to me as. Like they were doing, like John Cena was going out of his way to make Paul feel like a big deal. And I understand that's in some way that's to give Logan Paul some heel heat, but come on. Again, really incredibly forced stuff from WWE. And this is the TKO, ramifications of this thing where it's like I said, it's about stars, it's about making money. And it's really like the storyline aspect of things is just kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. So this was, just the John Cena stuff is just not working. So, and I don't know what their end game is here. And I don't know how much longer this is going to go on. But unless they liven this up with something really genuinely interesting, this has been a colossal fail. This has been a colossal fail. What have we gotten from John Cena since he turned heel? Some the same promo every single week, yelling at the fans for being in an abusive relationship, a terrible main event against Cody Rhodes, a decent enough final match with Randy Orton, which which led into a 3-minute television match against R-Truth, which was admittedly fun but didn't mean anything. And now we've got a tag, and then he gets randomly involved in Jey Uso's world title match, and we get really an unnecessary tag match with him and Logan Paul taking on Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. It's a fail, man. It is a 100% fail. You had a slam dunk here in John Cena's final year. He's gone in 6 months. And this just feels like a colossal misfire from WWE. They got their work cut out for them to really land the plane here with one of the greatest of all time. And I understand that they're fighting a losing battle here with John Cena being in his late 40s and not really wrestling as much anymore. And he's kind of gotten exposed. But even the promos aren't connecting. So, again, the latest example of the failure that this John Cena heel run has been. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.